after chapter 17 with memorable games, we go to chapter 19, which tell us about how Kaufman became a grandmaster, because he practically was able to reach free possible selection for the World Championship, Senior World Championship, and he played in 3 World Senior World Championship. In one, he was able finally to get the Grandmaster title. For example, game 38 is Larry Kaufman against Algimantas Butnorius. I never heard of Algimantas Butnorius, but also Algimantas Butnorius in 2008 was 2,438, while Kaufman was 2,391. So I don't understand very well how they give the Grandmaster title if they are not 2,500, right? So Larry Kaufman was white and Butnorius black. It was played in Bad Schwitzenhahn World Championship Senior 2008. Kaufman plays d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, queen c2, castle, a3, bishop takes e3, queen takes e3, b6. And so it was an Inso-Indian defense. This formation, it's like the Queen's Indian, but he gave away the bishop, the dark square bishop. So bishop g5, bishop b7, f3, h6, bishop h4, d5, e3, knight bd7, and c takes d5. And then here there is and now. Okay, it doesn't tell us much, because now black played this, but it seems the best move is this, knight takes d5. Because after bishop takes d8, knight takes e3, bishop h4, knight d5, bishop f2, he says it's the main line. White retains a tiny opening plus due to the bishop pair. So why knight takes d5 is better? That's the part he doesn't explain. No? Why is this so bad? Because in the end he says white plays bishop d3, and this gives white a slight advantage, but also with knight takes d5 yet white has a slight advantage. So what's the difference here, right? As you can see, the book doesn't have some annotations that would be needed to understand better Kaufman reasonings behind. Maybe he has in mind readership of international masters and grandmasters that are able to understand what he means, while the average club player could be difficult for him to understand this book. Okay, rook e8, knight e2, okay, c6. For example, here you ask yourself, why cannot take this, right? Because, but here there is no an annotation, right? He didn't explain it. He thinks that you know it. If you play this, there is this, boom, and you have lost the rook. So that's the reason. But it might be that for some players is not that clear, right? So you need a little annotation to explain that. Or maybe a little exercise and tease the reader and say, why black cannot play rook takes a3? just little things to make the book more interesting. After c6, however, he plays bishop f2. And here it says that generally the right continuation provides castling. Okay. Queen c8, knight g3, bishop a6, knight f5, bishop takes d3, and queen takes d3. Rook e6, castle, c5. And here there is another diagram. It seems at this point White played a dubious move. White is Kaufman. Instead, there was a better move to play. So, what is the need of a position? Also here, it doesn't explain anything, but maybe you need to understand what's going on. Okay, Black has a majority on the queen side. He surely wants to push this pawn, because then it's a kind of pass pawn which is protected, right? It can be protected. So what you should do is to try to block that pawn. In the game, Kaufman played b4, thinking that blocks, but it doesn't, because that's what Black want to play. Instead, the right move was b3. I don't know, it seems probably found it thanks to Komodo, but it was logical once we switch off the engine. The problem is that nobody wants to switch off the engine. They want to always have the answer from the engine. But again, the need of a position. What is the need of a position? The need of a position is to try to create a pass pawn on the queen side. Why? Because you don't have attack on the king side, right? So what are you doing? Nothing, right? Instead, also this rook, yes, this rook could be put here and attack, but there are not enough pieces. To me, it looks like that. So to stop Black from getting this, maybe it was more important. So this was the move to play, but Kaufman played b4, c4, queen c2, and now there is a dubious move by Black. Again, the need of a position. Black played b5, that is dubious. In reality, he should have played queen b7, because probably the idea is to double up. But again, it doesn't give this idea in the book, and it should have to explain to us why this move is good, right? b5, rook a, e1, other dubious move. It seems that White is jumping the ship on the queen side. Instead, probably, again, you want to fight this group of pawns, right? So what should you do? Probably something like this, because this is protected, but this starts to attack these pawns that are protecting the pass pawn. Maybe that made more sense. But again, the book doesn't explain it, okay? So you have to guess it for yourself. Now, Black played queen a6, still not good, because he doesn't understand why White played that. He just attacked an unprotected pawn. It seems the better move was this, because it was giving some fight for the center. I don't know. Again, how did Kaufman find this move? Because if Komodo found it, maybe you need to give us a little more moves to understand why Komodo has that evaluation. In any case, queen a6, e4, and now, strangely, which is obviously following the move queen a6, but how someone, because both Kaufman and the Butnorius got the GM title from this tournament, because they reached 4th place, tied, and so on. The problem is, how does a Grandmaster level player prefer to take a side pawn, value nearly nothing, compared to leave the center? That is the most important thing in the chess game, because it's the center that allow you to move pieces from one side to the other very easily. Is the center that sometimes you just make a pass pawn and it becomes unstoppable. So I don't know. Black played queen takes a3, e5, knight e8, and rook a1. So this was kind of a trap, probably. But I don't know. It seems the right move was queen takes b4. The guy plays queen b3. I mean, after queen takes b3 and c takes b3, I don't know. Isolated pawn, backward pawn. This one we don't know what he's doing. Is not a nice pawn formation, I think. I guess both these guys would need to learn more about pawn structures, right? Or, like it's written in this game, dynamic pawn play in chess, but I cannot even take it out. Oh my god, they are too heavy, these moves. Okay, so let's see what happens. Rook fb1, yeah, now you got to defend it. How? Knight b6, and rook takes b3. Great. I mean, at this point, I don't think we have many doubts that white has a better position. And sometimes it's not, you don't need a material advantage, but now I don't understand what is black going to do. No? Well, and here there is the evaluation by Kaufman that writes, now white has a clear advantage in space and pawn structure, and I won without too much further difficulty. Okay, we are at move 27, he won at move 49, which means 22 moves later. Let's see, but because it doesn't put any more comments at this point. Knight c4, f4, king f8, g4, rook c6, bishop h4, f6, rook e1, rook e6, bishop g3, a5, b takes a5, rook takes a5, knight h4, knight d2, rook d3, knight e4, f5, sorry, my mistake, f5, and now it's bad. I think it's really bad for black. Rook e, a6, knight g6, rook g8, knight e7, king h7, and it was king g8, knight takes d5, knight takes g3, h takes g3, b4, knight takes b4, rook b6, knight c2, rook c6, rook e2, knight c7, king f2, and knight d5, e6. Okay, yeah, the game is over practically. Rook a7, knight e3, knight c3, rook b2. As you can see, once you have a protected pass pawn, what do? He's employing two rooks to keep it in check. Yeah. How is that even working? I don't know. Rook a1, king a3, knight a4, and rook b8. And here black resigned. Again, it seems that black strangely played like a computer from the 90s, playing on the side when the center was neglected, and that's what created this problem. Well, interesting game. Now, another game is against Larry Kaufman against Nikolai Pushkov. Kaufman is 2401, it was played in 2009, and Nikolai Pushkov, he was 2499. Let's see this game. Now, this game with Pushkov, I believe it's more interesting because it's just 25 moves long. So, d4. This last round victory over one of the top rated GM in the event put me into a tie for 4th place. Knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, d5, c takes d5, e takes d5, bishop g5, bishop e7, e3, c6, queen c2, knight b d7, bishop d3, and knight h5. Guys, I'm just showing you the game because there are no annotation. Bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, long castle, knight b6, h3, g6, knight f3, bishop e6, bishop g4, knight g7, and king b1. Now, this is a kind of interesting situation that we have here. Okay, castle, long castle. Okay, this makes sense because, I mean, if he castle on this side, it was under attack. But knight a4, because this is a little weak and he has a semi-open file, so I don't know. Knight takes a4, queen takes a4, and king b8. After 16 moves, we finally have a note from Kaufman that writes, "Most senior players are very predictable, but I have always been an exception, of course. This is probably why I have done so much better in one round a day events with hours to prepare." Okay, but again, he didn't tell us how he prepared. Maybe that would have been interesting for the readers, right? Because he would have taught something. Here he played rook c1, but he said that maybe this was the best. Why? Finally, he puts a note that explains why this was the best. And the reason is that it helps to play this move and obviously bring the rook home here. And it seems that this move, this bishop e2, was too subtle for the computers of 2009. So, as you can see, these moves that he finds in the book that he puts as a comment are found maybe by a computer of 2020. That's kind of interesting, right? So, here he said that he was aiming for this position in his preparation. But if black plays this maneuver, knight e8, d6, it's equal, he says. So you need to find that maneuver. However, it seems his preparation is good, because we are at move 17, and that's why I said maybe he should have told us something on how he prepared for these events. That would have been more interesting, I think. So black didn't find that, and he started to fight on the king's side with h5. And white continues with knight e5, and this is good, he says, because the knight cannot be thrown away. You cannot play this because there is this, right? So this is a great outpost. White is likely better for that reason. Here he says that white is better. Okay, whatever he wants. H take g4, h take g4, rook take h1, rook takes h1, and then we have rook c8. Boom. Interesting. f4. So is the cementing is outpost. Once more, he should have found knight e8, d6. Instead, he played queen f8. That is not so good. But let's see why. Because it doesn't tell you why. Queen c2, c5. This is a blunder, he says, in a difficult position. The right move would have been queen d6, and he would have continued with rook h4. But again, we don't know if he found it or a computer found it in 2022 or 2020. So this is a blunder, he says. Why? Because of f5. G takes f5, G takes f5, C takes d4, wow, very interesting. Okay, so what do you do now if you are white? That's kind of interesting, but how did a grandmaster level player miss this move? Because after all, it's kind of simple, right? Boom. And obviously, if you take here, there is knight d7, takes this one back, you still have your rook and pre, it's a mess, right? So he played this, but then there is this move which wins the game, and here it's over. Obviously you cannot take on there because he gets another queen back, and there is a back rank checkmate, and I don't know, if you take this, you take this, and it's over, right? So this is it. There is a last game in this chapter. It's made only by 3 games, and I will show it because it's just 35 moves. I hope you like most of this game.